So from our class yesterday, we touched a bit on what backend development is and also on .NET development, which is what we're going to be touching on in this training, right? So I'm still going to touch a bit on this before we continue, right? I pointed out this website. I don't know if any one of us has checked the website and just probably peruse the website to see what it's about. I don't know if we've done that, but then I'll just continue with it. So as you can see, whatever you want to build, right? You can build it with .NET, whether it's on the web, probably a website, like this, a website like this, you can build it on the web using .NET, mobile and desktop. So your mobile apps, iOS app, and whatever you could build your desktop app with .NET MAUI, cloud technologies, you could do that with .NET, microservices, you could also do that with .NET, machine learning, game development, Internet of Things, desktop like this, front-end web development. You could also build front-end applications with .NET as well as backend APIs, right? So I also pointed out coming. And then supported on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. So that means you could install the .NET SDK on your Windows system. I'm using a Windows system. You can install your .NET SDK on your Windows system. You can install it on a Mac system or on a Linux system. However, whatever system you're using, you can install the .NET SDK on that system. I'm trying to look for that. So there was an image I shared yesterday. I can't remember where I got it from on this platform. Okay, let me just do this. Why is .NET? Okay, so yeah, I think this is where I got it from. Can't remember, but just going to, yeah, so this is where I got it from. So the image is coming up shortly. Startup companies are they are beginning to use .NET for their full stack applications. Banks, enterprise applications, they're all using .NET, and it's like the way to go, right? The image I'm trying to look for is coming up here. So performance, yeah, it matters. Compared to Java Servlet or Node, .NET processes requests a lot more than Node.js and Java Servlet, right? So as you can see from this image. So this is like a lot of reasons why so many people use .NET, right? If not for the fact that you could use it to build just about anything, then what about the performance? Then you should be able to pick .NET for that reason. Now, what do you need to do, right? So this call is more or less about setting up our PC. If you're using a Windows PC, or if you're using a Mac OS or Linux PC, what do you need to do? The first thing you need to do is to get an IDE or a code editor, right? So IDE was probably talking about Visual Studio, or code editor talking about Visual Studio Code. So any of this works for you. If you have like a very powerful system, you could decide to use Visual Studio. But if you have like a not so much powerful system, then you should go for Visual Studio Code, which is not as powerful as Visual Studio, right? So I'm going to just show you how to get both of them quickly. So to get Visual Studio, you have to go to visualstudio.microsoft.com. My internet is acting up. Then to get Visual Studio Code, you have to go to codes.visualstudio.com and you should be able to get it, right? So as you can see, you could get, if you're using Linux, you wouldn't be able to use Visual Studio on Linux because it's not available on Linux, but then it's available on Windows and Mac, right? So this is Visual Studio for Windows and Mac. So on Windows, you can come here and download Community Edition, which is the free edition. On Mac, just come here and click on this, right? Then if you're using Linux, you should go for the Visual Studio Code and then get whatever version you want to get from here, which is also the same thing for here, right? So Mac OS, Windows, and Linux, whichever version or whichever system that you're using, you can get those editors from here. And all you need to do once installed on your PC or once downloaded is to install it on your PC following the prompts, right? So it's not that difficult. The only one that is a bit technical is Visual Studio. So I'm going to just show you what happens when you get Visual Studio on your PC, right? So when you get Visual Studio Code on your PC, you just follow the prompts and then you have it installed. Not so difficult. But then Visual Studio comes with an installer. So the difference between both of this is one is Visual Studio Code, the other one is just Visual Studio. So don't get confused when I keep switching between both names, right? So like I said, it comes with an installer, and then right now I already installed the Community Edition, but normally, if you don't have it installed, you just see the available ones, and then you pick the one to install. So I already installed the Community Edition. I didn't install the Enterprise or Professional Edition. So after installing that, you go to Modify, or it just moves you straight to Modify. Depends on how it works for you, but because I already have it installed, I have to click Modify. So sometimes after installing, it just moves you straight to Modify, where you have all of these workloads that you could pick out from, depending on what the kind of developments that you want to do on your system. So to build with .NET and C#, all you need to do is just pick this ASP.NET and web development. Once you pick that, click on install, which should be around here, but because I already have it installed, it's saying close. So you click on install and it installs on your PC, right? So you could also use Visual Studio for Python development, Node.js development, Maui, which is for desktop and mobile app, a couple other things, games development, yeah, data, anything about data, you could also do that, and all of this other stuff, right? So, but if it's just for this program, all you need, the only workload you need is this ASP.NET web development, which is this, right? As you can see. So I already have it installed on my PC. So I'm just gonna click on close, and that's like the first thing you need to do. The first thing you need to do is get your IDE or code editor installed on your PC. When you're done with that, the next thing you need to do is to get the SDK, right? So by SDK, I mean .NET SDK. So I'm just gonna say download .NET 7, yeah. So .NET 7 is the most recent SDK available for download, and there is .NET 6, which is also in support. .NET 7 is not LTS, so I'm just going to go back so that we see all of the versions first. All right, great. So we have .NET 6 available, which is long-term support, and the support will be expiring by November 12, 2024. I was surprised. I was like looking at March 14. I was surprised. Anyway, so it will be ending by next year, November, right? .NET 7, which is also available, but it's not long-term support, will be ending by May 14th of next year. And then .NET 8 is already being built and worked on, right? So I would suggest that you download .NET 7, which is the most recent one. And it's not much, doesn't have much difference from .NET 6, right? So when you want to download on your PC, just get the .NET 7 installed on your PC, and by clicking .NET 7, and like I said, or like we've mentioned so far, it's cross-platform, which means you can install on any platform that you're using. Linux, Mac, or Windows. I'm using Windows, so I will just pick this x64 because my system is a 64-bit system. So I'll pick on that, then I'll have it installed, right? When that happens, I can then check the version, .NET dash version on my PC, like this. And then it tells me that the latest version I have on my PC is 7.0.102. Okay, so I don't even have the most updated one because the most updated one right now is 7.0.202. I have 102, right? So I'll probably need to update this later on. But that's like the version I have on my system, right? And on your system, if you do not have .NET installed, when you put if you type in .NET, it's going to tell you that it doesn't understand what that command is. It's just like me saying bring, right? So it's going to give me this sort of error if you don't have it installed on your system, right? Saying bring. The term bring is not recognized as the name of the commandlet, function, script file, blah, 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 and all of this, right? So, but because I have .NET installed on my system, it understands what I mean by .NET, and then it tells me all of this. It tells me if I want to get help, I just do .NET help, and it gives me .NET dash help. Yeah, it gives me a lot of assistance that I would know that I would use to, work with .NET on this system, right? You do not need to bother about this because most of these things you're not probably going to be using them, right? But that is just to let you know that, oh, .NET is already installed on your PC. So we're going to come back to that in a bit. So after installing .NET on your PC, installing the IDE, and installing the so IDE or code editor, then installing the SDK on your PC. The next thing you need to do is if you're using the Visual Studio, which is the IDE, you don't need to really bother about this because most of these extensions are already inbuilt in Visual Studio because it's built basically for when you install the workload, which is ASP.NET, it's built basically for that development. But then on Visual Studio code, so I'm just gonna do VS Code. Yeah, so on Visual Studio Code, you have to minimize this and bring this up. So on Visual Studio Code, you have to what's the word I'm looking for now? You have to install some extensions. Yeah. So to install some extensions, all you need to do is come to these items on the left, and the fifth item, it probably might not be the fifth for you, but then for me it's the fifth item called extensions, or I could just do Control-Shift-X, right? Which is the shortcut, as you can see from the screen, right? So it just shows you the number of extensions that you can install on your PC, right? So you could search for these extensions by clicking on the search box here. And to do that, I would just say search for probably .NET, and it shows you some extensions that you probably need, right? I already have this installed, right? Yep. But so what I'm going to do is to make this easy, I'm going to just go through some of the .NET um, extensions that I have installed, and then tell you the ones that you are free to install if you want, and the ones that you have to install, right? So I'll start with this .NET Install 2 for extension authors. You do not need to install this. I'm not sure I've ever used this, right? But then I probably might use it someday. C#, you definitely do need this, right? You definitely do need this because it says, welcome to the C# extension of Visual Studio Code. This extension provides the following features inside VS Code: lightweight development for tools for the .NET Core, great C# editing, and the rest of this other stuff, right? So you definitely do need this, and you have to install it. C# colors, you do not really need this, right? but then you can decide to install it. C# extensions, you definitely do need this because it would help you to work faster. Looking at this now, you see what's going to happen. So once you right clicks, it says you can just click on new C# class, new C# enum or whatever, and then it just writes some of the codes for you so that it helps you to develop faster, so to speak. Right? Without sorry about that. So without it, if I do right click, I won't get some of these things like this new C# blah 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 and all of this stuff, right? So I'll just get like new file, and then when I create a new file, I have to write the namespace and these other things that's inside, right? So you need that C# extensions. C# snippets, you could decide to use this, right? So it just shows you some shortcuts that you could use to get some codes out there, right? Without writing the full code, right? So let me pick an example now. Okay. So now prop. With this, okay, you know what? Let me just walk while I do this, right? So I'm going to close this. I'm going to just create. Hold on, I'm going to stop sharing for now so I can quickly create something, then work with it. Give me a second. Someone's raising up their hand. Please go ahead. If you're raising up your hand, please go ahead. Okay, I guess that was a mistake. All right, so I'm going to be sharing my screen again. And let me know when you can see my screen.
Can see your screen.
All right, great.
Yeah.
So the first one I was talking about is the C# the extension. I can't remember. Anyways, that just helps us to just click on yes quickly. That just helps us to create like a quick class. So let me show you something now. If I want to just without that extension, you only have files. So if I say new file.cs, you can see there's nothing in it, right? But if with the extension, if I just say new class, I'll be having something like let me just say new class 2. And then, as you can see, it just created all of this for me. So that's what that extension does. Now, the other extension, C# snippets, if I just do prop, and let me go back a bit, yeah, and tab, right? So that's what the extension does, right? So just creates this quickly. Or if I do CTO arrow, it creates a constructor for me and all of that. And then I can just do what I need to do with it, right? So that's basically what C# snippets does. I'm going to go back in there. So you have to install that as well to just help. Right, C# to TypeScript. TypeScript, you don't need that. Let me see. .NET, you might want to use that if you feel like, but it's not compulsory. Let me see. I think yeah, so tab 9 AI autocomplete for JavaScript, Python, TypeScript, and the rest of them, right? So you might want to use this. It helps you, it's like an AI plugin that helps you to remember some of the code that you've written and just gives you a clue as to what you might want to write next. So you might want to get that. Thunder clients, you might want to get this as well. This, I don't know if you know what Postman is, but this is like a lighter version of Postman where you can make API calls, but we might not be using this right now until much later in the training, right? So you probably might want to install it right now or later on, depends on you. I think I have a message. Yes, you're going to have access to the video after the class. All right, so I think that's just about everything that all of the plugins or extensions that you might want to get on your system, right? So just not to just overwhelm you guys with a lot. I'm going to stop here for this class, but before we leave, I am going to point out something quickly. I'll show you the what's it called now, schedule for this training so that you are prepared and you know what we're going to be touching at different times. Just trying to look for it right now. Give me a second. Okay, let's make click. Give my zero click for God's sake. I'm coming, trying to figure out where this is. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop the recording right now because the other information we do not need them. So